Hi, my name is Ruth Cray, and I'd like to welcome everyone to this meeting. We're going to learn a lot about redox signaling molecules. And I just want to first start by saying that these products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. And so I'd like to tell you a little bit of how I became into this business. So Gloria introduced me to ASEA about 11 months ago. And I was out working at her house with her horses, and I came in and she was just fascinated looking at these videos, and I was just wondering what she is doing. So I went down and she invited me to sit down, and we watched videos for, I don't know, a couple hours. It was, and I just was like, this is it. This is like, I was just very fascinated by the anti-aging properties, staying younger longer, getting my wrinkles to be reduced. That was like really nice. And what I discovered is that I didn't actually even know how many wrinkles I had on my face. I didn't think that I was looking as old as I was. And after a month, I was like, wow, I'm like sold on this. The other thing that I really noticed that I didn't actually even think that I would notice was that my knees don't hurt anymore. Because I injured them, and I had I had a couple surgeries, and the doctors told me that when I got older, my knees would hurt, and they did. And they don't hurt anymore. I can run and I can jog, and I don't ache anymore. But the one thing that is so significant is that about 10 years ago, I experienced some trauma, and it pretty much took me out, and I've had a lot of support throughout those years. But the one thing that after starting to take the redox molecules is that it felt like even more connections were being made. And so I got a lot of support, and the connections were starting to be made, but there were still connections that just my body was not, well, they just weren't there. And so now, as I'm like, even today, I'm feeling more confident. I'm feeling brighter. I'm feeling like I have a sense of belonging, a sense of a place in this world. And I'm growing into being who I came here to be more and more. I still have some bad days, and I still need support, but the days that are bad are less and less, and the good days are more and more. So now, and the reason, so that's why I feel passionate about sharing with people, because they need to know about this. It's really something completely amazing. And so now I'd like to turn it over to Doug, and he's going to introduce the video.
Thank you so much, Ruth. I'm very excited to be offering this video this evening. It's a Genesis video, and it'll give you a good understanding and an overview of how ASEA started. And you'll actually get to hear from the CEO, the founder, Verdus Norton, and he explains how he got involved, how he got started. And I want you to particularly pay attention to the ethics, the strong ethic this man has. And it'll give you some insight on how ethical the ASEA company and its philosophies are. So with that, here's Verdus.
I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. I took a degree from the University of Utah, managed some stores for Safeway, and then ended up going to work for General Foods Corporation. I was asked to sit on the board of a small company that had been working on a technology for about 15 years. Numerous patents, a lot of research, and they were actually producing a product using salt and water. And when they told me that, they wanted me to go on their board. I said, well, you're going to have to convince me that this is real. How can you produce something from salt and water? And they said, we have a lot of research, extensive research, $10 or $15 million worth of research.
Verdus agreed to join the board of directors.
So I went to the first board meeting, and found out that they were flat out of money. They were $1 million in debt. We said, let's see if we can help them find money. We tried for about 90 days, could not. Eventually, the company folded, and they actually merged it with another company, an energy company. And when that happened, that company started selling off assets. And I said, I am going to put a group of investors together, and I'm going to take a run at the company. And over the course of a year, we discovered what the product was and why it worked. We developed what's called the mechanism of action.
They discovered the product was based on Redox Biochemistry, a new field of science that emerged near the beginning of the 21st century. Redox signaling is a function central to all forms of life. Redox signaling molecules are created within every cell of the body and are vital to the immune system and to cellular repair and replace mechanisms. As one gets older, the body's ability to make these molecules decreases, a function of aging. The product provided a replenishing source of the exact redox signaling molecules the body creates, and in the same balance, enhancing cellular health. Knowing the product's shelf life was essential, Virtus challenged a team of researchers, including Dr. Gary Samuelson, to find a way to stabilize the product.
And finally, after months, he finally came in and said, I think I've got the product stabilized. And we started testing it and found out that he had, in fact, stabilized the product.
After stabilization had been achieved, Virtus met with a group of university scientists.
This is stabilized redox signaling molecules, both positive and negative molecules in the same bottle, stabilized. And they said, how in the world did you do this? So one of the big breakthroughs is the fact that we can stabilize molecules that you're not supposed to be able to do that. The molecules in ASEA are supposed to be fleeting. They should all return to salt and water in just a matter of minutes, and they don't. So we decided to find 40 people and create kind of a focus group, and we started giving it to them. We did that for about 2 months, and we said, let's go out and find out where we are with these 40 people. So when we went out and contacted them, we found out that the 40 people had turned into 135, and the product had been shipped to 20 different countries. But in the meantime, we had contacted a friend, and he was running a very big pharmaceutical company in New Jersey, about $10, $11 billion. And he finally agreed to send a group of people out and spend some time with us and see what we had come up with. So 4 people flew out on a plane. We spread out all of the research that we had out on a table. They started getting on the phone about noon back east, and they kept doing that. At about 2 o'clock, they walked in the room and said, okay, we're convinced you've got something here, and it's significant enough that we will write you a check big enough that you won't want to talk to anybody else. And I said, what's the catch? And they said, you've got to shut it down. And I said, shut what down? And they said, you've got 135 people on this product right now, shut it down. People have problems all the time, and they deal with them as best they can. You're going to have to walk away. And that kind of took us back a little bit. In fact, I said, that seems a little harsh to me. And they said, you want to work with us, you walk away.
ASEA LLC opened its doors for business in July 2009, with just a handful of independent associates. Today, there are tens of thousands, and their ranks are growing exponentially every month. In 2012, the company announced its entry into Europe, the first of many international steps to come.
My wife questions why I'm doing this. She said, you've retired more than once, and it's time for you to join me, and let's enjoy the golden years, if you will. But recently, a young lady came up, and she broke down and started sobbing. And she had a health challenge in her family that was really severe, and she was introduced to ASEA. And because of what ASEA did, she was just grateful. So I find it hard to talk about, but that's a reason.
There we go. I was muted. So my name is Gloria Liebecker, and I was introduced to ASEA through Marion Palmer. And the thing that stood out to me the most was the community. It's a community that I've looked for a long time. And I found a few people here and there, but this community that I've met, you know, even my husband, it was so fun to watch my husband just get really swept up with loving the people, because the people really care. And that really stands out to me. And that's a great transition to introduce you to our guest speaker today. We're in for a real treat. I have known Beth Watson, I think it's close to 30 years, because we were both a couple of young moms back then with little kids. And Beth is one of those people that's been part of my heart community. She'll be a close friend for the rest of my days. And I just love her. She has such a sweet nature that is so authentic and loving. And she has a strong faith that has seen her through a lot of life and has seen a lot of other people through a lot of life too. I can't say enough about this woman. And I look forward to a real treat because Jerry White is here and he's going to interview her. But now I'm going to pass it off to Marion, who can tell us about Jerry.
Yes, I'm Marion Palmer, and I, like Ruth, was interested in anti-aging. At 79, I feel like I was when I was 50, and I love being able to do the things that I still can do. I also, like Gloria, love getting to know the people, starting with Vertus Norton. And when I was a kindergarten teacher, I had no idea that I would be able to team up with Vertus, astronauts, medical doctors, scientists, housewives, college students. It doesn't matter, from all walks of life, to take this dream of Vertus's, this vision of Vertus's, of how important it is to get this to the world. And I was fortunate, I was able to be a roommate of Beth Watson. So I am really looking forward to hearing both Jerry and Beth. I've known Jerry a long time. I was the kindergarten teacher for his children, who are now adults. And he is the one who introduced me to ASEA and redox signaling molecules. He's an amazing man. He has a clinical background as a physical therapist, as well as a background in research. He founded the Gate Orthopedic and Neurological Lab at Shriners Hospital and was an adjunct professor of biomechanics and physiology at Eastern Physical Therapy School, Eastern Washington University. Jerry's personal vision and passion makes his partnership with ASEA powerful. Jerry serves on the ASEA medical board, and we're just fortunate to have him as our friend, our leader, and our mentor, and our host today. So take it away, Jerry.
I've always found that, thank you, Marion, shoot, all of that meeting years ago when my son was probably doing something, with the first time we ever met. And here we are still after all this stuff together. This is a fascinating set of technologies. We want to jump right into our interview tonight. And I'm going to emphasize that this technology is available to anybody and everybody. Our job today is to try to help you see what it is, and to see that there are many things that we initially think will help us or will be useful in our lives that we don't see yet. And so today we're going to take a little bit of a turn. And in my profession of coaching high-level athletes and working as a physical therapist, running my laboratory and teaching medical students, there were aspects of this that were absolutely fascinating to me. But when it really came nuts and bolts, it just had to be a personal, amazing response with a daughter that was sick. And it changed in 1,000 different ways. So we're going to take a look at a family that discovered this only recently. And Beth, here we go. Beth, what is it that you have done most for your professional career in the last 30 years?
Well, I have my cosmetology license, like she said, but and that's hair, skin, and nails, but predominantly I've been working with hair.
Okay, and what brought you to that profession?
You know what? I don't know exactly, other than in high school, I messed around with some of my friends' hair and cut their hair and had no idea what I was doing. And had thought about being a mortician, actually, but didn't really have the funds to go do that. And so it worked out that I was able to go into cosmetology. It fit into my budget, and I actually got to go to school in Spokane, right out in your valley, 39 years ago.
Well, there you go. So that gives you now a bunch of years of experience in an area you stumbled upon. And so for the people that are looking at this recording, you're stumbling upon something you probably never seen before either. Most of the world has not seen this at all. So Beth, the next stumbling came when you had discovered ASEA. And what were you interested in when you first saw it? What caught your attention?
Well, I was introduced to it through Darlene Dozier, and she was knowing that I was having knee surgery, and was certain that this would help my healing. And I was pretty much blown away at the results that I got from it in a fairly short amount of time. So just the fact that it worked. I mean, it worked from the inside out, because I was putting it on topically with the gel and the spray, and then I was also drinking it 2 to 4 ounces a day.
So that was your first experience, was it just works?
It just worked. Yeah.
And that's a powerful argument, when it just works. But from there, you began to open your mind to other things. Did your professional career and your education and your life experience there, how did the lights go on that this may have some application in the world of hair, nails, and skin?
Well, what I would like to show you is what happened to my leg that did actually turn on the lights. So we'll show you a picture of my knee after.
If this was the 1840s, then showing this picture of your leg is probably why you were introduced, or Doug followed you around after that first introduction.
Absolutely. So this was my my knee after just 27 days. And we won't show you the other picture because of it right afterwards, because I don't want to scare you. But I was so pleased with how the healing was taking place. But what triggered it into my career where I'm at now is what happened to my leg next. So my hair was coming back in. As you can see in this knee over here, it's not been shaved there, but 51 days later, I'm having this crop of dark brown, which that's the color I used to have on my head, dark brown hair, growing where I had been spraying the ASEA, and it was, you know, a little bit of the gel, but mostly the spray. So overspray was going down there, and it like awakened my my hair follicles and started growing. It was crazy. I was shocked, actually, to see that happen. And so then I thought, you know, this makes only sense that I could take this into my my business, my cosmetology business, and introduce this to my friends. So what I wanted to show you on this slide is the nails and the hair are very similar and made out of keratin, which is amino acids. So the follicle is, as you can see on the right side there, and it is fed from those blood vessels down there at the bottom in the papilla. So the excitement that I have is when you drink the ASEA molecules liquid, it's going into your bloodstream, which is then also going to feed that root area and nourish the hair. Because a lot of times people, you know, their hair doesn't grow, it doesn't grow fast, it loses nutrition, and because your vital organs like your brain, your heart, your lungs are going to get nutrition first. And so the appendages, which is the hair, skin, and nails, will get nutrition last. So I wanted to show you that that's, you know, the anatomy of the hair follicle. Over here on the nail, the matrix is where it receives the nutrition, right where the blue part is there. And we have seen some amazing results with Doug's fingernail. He had a thumbnail that split right straight down the middle. And within a few days, actually, not weeks, but days, it actually completely healed up. And he put it on down there by the root. So it was going down into the matrix. And then he also put it underneath the nail right there, kind of in the free edge. Yeah, right under the free edge. And it's crazy, and it has not split again since. So this, these redox molecules are amazing. And I'm just—
Can you tell us how, can you, the methods that Doug used to use these on a fingernail?
I think he put it on daily. Is that correct, Doug? You can.
Yeah, I would just take the Renew 28 and shake it up and just put a little drop on the bed, the cuticle, and then run it around the sides and up underneath the nail. And it healed in just less than a week.
So this is a gel form of this technology we're calling redox signaling. And there's a light saline solution that we will drink, and creative people use it for all kinds of stuff. So now we start to see that you started with a simple aspect of wanting to make your knee work better. And then not only did it seem to work better, but it was kind of trying to cover itself up with camouflage so no one could cut it again, and started growing dark hair on your leg. That was a stimulus that was really very interesting and led to putting some pieces together. What are some other things that you've learned that this technology, about its needs, about its distribution, or I mean, what next came up in your mind that you maybe could do with this since you found out about it?
Well, like you saw in the video, it's a friends sharing with friends. And so I was excited about that because I have a lot of friends and know a lot of people, and there's a huge need for the anti-aging, the people that want less wrinkles, that want, you know, more hair. It's endless of what it can, you know, be assist to. So I wanted to share it with others.
So Gloria comes along and finds that making a group of people with a community with a common purpose of trying to get this technology to the world. How did you and Doug first begin to start to feel like, I could do that? I could help in this way. And what I'm trying to imply here is that your personal background, your educational background, your work environment are all beginning to start whispering into your ear once you see this technology that there's more than just growing hair on my knee. There's more than just my knee doesn't hurt anymore. And so you ran across the community, and that's led to this video today. And so what do you see for the future based on what you know now that this technology will do in your family? And then the second is, in the future, what can you think it'll do for society, and how do we get it there?
Oh boy, I think that society, it's going to blow up, I think, because we're still new, and there's so many people that don't know about it yet, and people keep on getting more ill and aging, all of us baby boomers. So I think it's gonna go on fire.
And so you got the products in your house, you're using them now. Which ones do you like to use?
Well, I'm actually using all of them, although I need to reorder on my vitamins, but I'm drinking my liquid at least 4 ounces a day.
And what's your hoped for outcome for taking that on a regular basis?
That I'm not going to age as fast. that is my hope. Because at this point I'm already feeling those aches and pains, but not as much as I was. So I'm excited about
what's interesting is when you talk about hair returning at a color that it was previously, what does that speak to? Does that just mean returning to you damaged it, you returned to that level, or did something change that was even more remarkable?
Well, what's remarkable is when things digress, the cell signaling is not working. And so with the redox molecules, it causes them to communicate like they're supposed to, and which will reverse often the issue.
Isn't that interesting? What was the last time that we could actually generate new tissue with what do you have in your arsenal as a hair specialist, for example, that will cause somebody to begin to start to grow their own hair with more color than they did before? Doesn't it usually go the other way?
Yeah. No, I have not seen anything like it. I do have I have been using a hair product that will help the hair grow back in nutritionally and that type of thing, but I've never seen anything that you can do that's the same thing internally and externally. There's just nothing in my career that I've ever seen.
And I think we talk about anti-aging, and that means to stop where you are and not get any older. But it crosses my mind as a practitioner that if your hair comes back, okay, if it comes back a color that it used to be, that's reverse aging in cells.
Right.
How many times do we know or see reverse aging in your hands in a short period of time in your lifetime?
No.
It starts to spell something much bigger. And so I think that catches our imagination. So where do you see it in your family going to in the future?
Well, I would love to see my family being on the product and possibly building their own business if they're interested. That would be fantastic.
When you look at that, we now are currently sitting in a moment in time where there's in most of the country, there's inflation. Is there any at your house?
Yes.
So we think that there are many people that are going to be looking for ways to augment the fact that they want to at least try to get through. They may have been really close on that paycheck from one end to the other every month. And now it costs more, and it costs significantly more. And it's on the horizon to cost significantly more than that. So it wakes us up. And sometimes it gets us to the place where we say, I have to change. There was a great book written a few years back called Who Moved My Cheese? And in that book, it's about mice who got trained to find cheese through the maze right here. And the two mice, one of them just kept going back to that same spot and there wasn't any cheese. The experimenter decided to put the cheese in another closet for the food. Well, his buddy said, this is not working. I'm going to change, and went on and found a bounty in another location. But this one would have stayed there and starved to death because they stayed in the same place. Now, human growth and emotion and the difference you make and who we are does the same thing. And it says, if you have hope, if you feed that hope, if you can become a part of something bigger than yourself, then life gets richer, right? Your life gets lighter, more fun, more vibrant. So if we tack on the idea that the science has got some crazy things going on with anti-aging and how you look, the hair concept of reversing the cells in the hair, but not just the cells in the hair, but every other cell in your body to make them younger. These are huge factors to be able to handle a much more stressful world than we did when we were young. Now, what if we could teach each other how to find ways to fight through that and do it in such a way that we could say, this is fulfilling, this makes a big difference, let's add some more people. That's what I see your family is really beginning to start to pick up. Do you feel any of that?
Yes. Yeah.
And is time a factor in your family?
Yes.
And do you know anybody else whose time is used up before they ever start?
Yep.
So if we keep doing the same thing, we keep getting the same thing. If nothing changes, nothing changes. And now it's time for many of us to make a choice to change. And when we see a professional who comes in because she has a sore knee and then begins to find applications in a whole new area, one that she studied for 30 years, and the whole windows of possibilities begin to open. Imagine if that could happen in the lives of hundreds or thousands of people who are looking for a way to say, I'd like to go where the puck is going. I'd like to go to where efficiency at production of revenue in your life is going, not where it used to be. The cheese has been removed. Did you know that around 1990, it's up to 2000, many people would get to a point in their careers where they could retire with a pension. And now most of those people had, for example, healthcare advantages or healthcare for free with no deductibles. And if you've all been kind of following through on that, it gets more and more and more expensive, and they make the deductibles higher and higher and higher, and they cover less and less and less. Well, the same thing happened to those, what did I say they were called when you retire and you get extra money? It was those things went away. See, I can't even remember. It's been so long since people had a pension. So in private, it was very interesting. Within about a 10-year period from 1999 to 2009, almost every private company in America gradually stopped paying pensions. So now you're on your own. And what if we could learn to be so efficient at producing revenue by introducing other people in a new arena? Now, the arena that we're talking about now is pretty interesting. It's you can order a drink and something to put on your skin. You can order something that comes to your house that works on the nutritional pieces and all the factory stuff that your body has to do in incredible ways. That's what we just talked about. But there's another option. And that is to say, just as you've done, to look at the bigger picture of where things are going with the baby boomers, with people who need to have a side income, for people who need to change the direction because of a lot of things, but particularly inflation. So what we were proposing to all of you here, some just get the technology because you want to have a hairy knee. And this is not the only hairy knee I've ever seen. This is pretty crazy. That's a kind of reproduced. What? How does that work? The last one that we saw, and was even on some of your calls, she got an injury, hurt her knee while she was skiing, and got mad because she'd spent a bunch of money on like a European electrolysis to get rid of the hair on her knee, and wherever she was rubbing it, it started growing looked like a cat fell asleep on her leg. And she's going, hey, I paid for this. So, but it rung a bell, and it began to, as we get more and more people to talk about the different parts of their body, their eyes, their sinuses, their breathing. Gloria's got some particularly great stories about breathing. It expands. And so this group of people does a very interesting thing. We've come together and we said, all of us have expertise in different areas. All of us have a different way of looking at things. And our perspectives help people see, I could do that. I could join and make a difference in something. How many people would love to make a difference? In fact, Harvard School of Business had a big article that came out that talked about the next big wave. And so we went from the industrial age to the information age. And so we're on Zoom because of the information age. And all of us could say, boy, howdy, has that changed our lives. In many ways, not good. It's out of control, needs to be fixed. But I think we can all agree that some of the greatest fortunes that exist today came from that new age, right?
Yes.
And so this Harvard Business Review was saying, you want to know what the next big age is? And for many, we'd say, if I knew that, I might like to prepare for it, especially if it meets with what your life calling is all about. Well, here you go. That next big age is called the experiential age. And in this, what we can do is experience the technology yourself and then help other people experience the technology. Raise your hand if you're one of those people that you've done something that almost makes you cry because you helped somebody else. And see, with that, what a motivation. You'll come back and do it again tomorrow. And then when we can share with one another and we give validation, we start to realize, we are more powerful together than we were separate. And the information age seems to try to get us to be more and more and more individualized and controls the input that we get. This way we just go, boy, are people rich? And I mean, experiences cause these rich relationships. We are now teaching ourselves to change our health, to change the trajectory of our legacy that we can pass on to our families, but also to create a sense of really making a difference much bigger together than we could ever make ourselves. And we offer that opportunity to anybody that's watching this to join for American, $40 American. And I love what my good friend Dave used to say back in the day. For some of you may not know what these things was, but they were dollar bills, it wasn't plastic. It didn't kind of snap back. If you folded it, it kind of stayed folded. It was really an amazing thing. And they still are in use today. If you found money like $100 bill, I bet you somebody would probably want to take it from you. So we still think it has value. But this money thing is really, really very interesting. We need it. And if we don't do it, for some of us, it's you become a slave to things that are inefficient and take you away from the things that matter most. So what if we could gather together and discover all kinds of things and say, we're going to try to live the highest quality life we can, making the biggest possible difference together. What if we could do it with a group of people that we love and care about? And we could do it in such a way that you get rid of the need for making your finances, get it taken care of, get it out of the way. So that's what we offer. And the people who brought you here tonight just realize we've now opened up a new window. And when people like Beth can tell us, hey, wait, this applies to my area of expertise. She's now steps ahead of anybody else in her arena that work in skin, hair, and nails. She has more awareness than those other professionals do. Wouldn't it be interesting if she could gather them together and go, hey, you know what we could do? We could change literally the trajectory of the whole economics of this field. Who's in? Would that be interesting? Well, our next time you get together, we can have a talk about how we leverage and build to a concept called reproductive residual income, something that grows while you're working at it, while you're sleeping, or whether you're on an emergency fishing trip, or if you're trying to shave the dark hair off your leg that came back because you're, whatever you choose to do. So I'm going to throw this back to y'all. Thanks for having us tonight. I think I'm very excited about the future of where we're going.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Gloria.
So thank you both for being here. And while I still have you, I just want to open it up. If there are any questions anyone has, you could either put them in the chat and we'll ask them for you, or you can raise your hand. There's a reaction button down in the bottom. And so Ruth Cray, go ahead and ask your question. You want to unmute yourself?
So I have a question about sharing this with certain people who have a problem with having hair loss, or maybe they've had something that their hair, they've had injuries on their head. Do they need to actually drink the Redox, or with the gel and just spraying it on those areas, would that help the cells help repair the hair follicles?
Well, I would do both. That would be my recommendation, because it's getting the nutrition from the blood supply, and then topically it would go down through the skin and nourish it too. So I would say both.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an area that you would love to study, maybe just on your own, to see how it might affect hair? What would be an idea that comes to your head, your mind? Color, before and after pictures.
Actually, the color, bringing back the color would be amazing. That would be an area that I'd like to further study into.
Because I'll tell you, just to start the study, you notice, anybody know what color of my beard is now?
Yes.
Didn't used to be. And my eyebrows were the same when I started at ASEA. Can you see the difference?
Yes.
The eyebrows have come back to their original color. Probably in my nose hairs too, but I haven't noticed.
That's amazing. That is so cool, Jerry.
So as we begin to start to look around, also, Marion, what hair color agent do you use?
I use ASEA. You know, I've been using it for 9 years, and my sisters have gray hair. My hair is natural. I don't do any coloring.
Now, let me ask this, Beth, how common is it for somebody at 79 to have no gray hair?
It's because she's taken ASEA.
Well, how common is it? Do you see it very often?
Not very often. Occasionally I'll see people, in their 70s, sometimes in their 80s, and they have hardly any gray. So
you know what this means? Across the board, no matter what we're talking about, it only works on the most intelligent people.
There you go.
So isn't this fun? I mean, let's just get as many people as we can. You know anybody in golf? I just signed up somebody who's a professional at the Crooked Stick golf course in Indianapolis, where they have some of the major players. She's a pro, teaches there, and was a playing pro as well. Why? Because she said, in my industry, this stuff could be insane. Because not if you have a bad knee in that injury or in that area, and you love golf, and your knee comes into a much better space, and you don't have as much problem with your knee, you're probably going to introduce it to other people, right?
Right.
Who's ever used it on a dog or a cat or a horse?
Yeah. So
Then have you noticed at the supermarket over the last numbers of years that the pet food and toys and shelters aisle used to be half of one of the pieces of one aisle? Have you noticed now that almost a third of all the aisles in the store are pets related? Is there a market there? Well, I wanted to end with that just because what we have here is beyond your wildest dreams in potential as we look at the macroeconomics of where the world is going. Now, if we could say we want to listen to what an old scientist used to say, what could any group of 3 people do if they want to? They could change the world. And in fact, that's the only thing that ever did change the world, was a small group of people who believed in the same thing. So why not prove it?
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much, Jerry. And thank you, Beth, for being a part of this community and for sharing your expertise with us. We'll look forward to catching up with you again in the future and hear an update.
And as we get together, you'll feel Beth reaching over and grabbing your hair and checking it out and seeing if you could fit into the study for changing the color. Thanks. Good night, all.
Yeah, I'm going to hand over now to Doug.
Thank you so much, Gloria. And thank you all for attending. Please share your video with your friends. And if you are able to, tomorrow we have another presentation by Cellular Health for Life, and we present a passion for helping others. And the guest speakers are Heidi and Kyle Fourier. So the Zoom ID is there on your screen, 509-876-1802. And that will be tomorrow, July 27th at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time and 5:30 p.m. Central time. So please join us and hear a wonderful story by Heidi and Kyle Fourier. I think you will be well pleased with the time invested. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.
Stop it. Oh.